What up, kings and queens? Welcome to another episode of Acoustic Chef. This is B. Will.
I am Regina.
This is Capel.
And this is your girl, Ebony.
What up, people? How y'all doing?
Ooh, good. Is it a celebration, people?
Yeah, we're crossing the finish line.
Yeah,
Jumanji levels and everything.
exactly.
Yeah, let's go back to normal racism.
Exactly. I was about to say.
Right?
You can hear the excitement in my voice. Really? Yeah.
The covert kind.
For real.
Yeah.
Straight up. Let's go
Yeah.
back to the legislation locking us up and all of that type of stuff or whatever.
Right. Well, at least we had 4 years of exposure. Like, I mean, we know what it is.
Yeah.
For those that weren't woke enough, like if you don't see it by now, I didn't need another 4 years to wake up. So if they didn't see it, oh well.
I am happy though about the representation that Kamala holds. You know what I'm saying? To have a black woman hold that office. We've never a woman period. We've never seen that before. So
Yeah, it's overdue.
that's
Definitely.
an amazing thing.
I'm glad, and I'm very glad that, it wasn't, a white woman's, woman period would have been great, but I'm just glad that the first is a woman of color. So I think that's very important.
Yeah.
So.
I love it. They say that the saying behind every successful man is a strong woman. Now that doesn't 100% fit with this, but I like that she's right there with this dude because I feel like her voice. I feel like her voice is going to matter in a lot of the decisions that they make and the things that they try to do. Now, is that going to equal like mass changes? I'm not saying that shit, so don't quote me on that. But I do feel like her perspective on things, because people can say what they want about her past and when she was a district attorney. Like, yeah, that stuff is happened. I'm not erasing any of that, but I also believe that as a district attorney, she was doing her job,
Absolutely.
Yeah, and as a district attorney, like people don't understand the roles of certain jobs, and I'm not saying that she could have a different outlook. I don't know enough about that to really even go into detail. But what I can say is, I do believe that she has shown enough during this time to get the benefit of the doubt from me that she's going to be a real voice in that office,
Yeah,
not
exactly.
just a puppet, not a puppet.
I agree. She did her job as a prosecutor. Now, I do have some things that I find questionable in regards to not going after police officers and prosecuting them when they were could have been in the wrong. But as far as everything else that everybody's complaining about, the job of a prosecutor is to prosecute. And I think sometimes we just lump attorneys all together and say, oh, well, you need to do this or do that. There's many times that people we've known have gotten a representation from an attorney, and that attorney's job wasn't to be your moral, compass. It was to get you off of the case. It was to defend you or to prosecute, whether they felt like you did it or not. And then my cousin ran for district attorney here in Houston, and she didn't win. But then I realized, I'm like, oh my gosh, I understand what your job would be and all of the persecution you would have gotten if you would have won the job, because people don't understand that. But we also have to look at what her job was after being a prosecuting attorney in the state of California. Her time as a senator, I mean, she definitely had a voice, and if people looked at her record there, I think that they would understand more of kind of who the person she is or who we think she is.
Yeah.
So being a prosecutor, I mean, it's just like being a prosecutor anywhere in the country or whatnot. Just like you stated. I mean, that's a job that you have to do, and I don't think anybody's bucking the system or trying to change the status quo, which is that's a messed up job period or whatnot.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, if I was to move on from being the fry cook to the flipping the patties and stuff like that or whatever, what they want to look at is how well did I do, you know what I'm saying, seasoning the fries or cooking the fries and stuff like that.
Yeah.
If you moving from a prosecutor to whatever the next level is, maybe to another city or something, what do they look at? They want to know how many people have you prosecuted? You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? What's your ratio? You know what I'm saying? And that, to me, that's just disgusting, period. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? That's just a
Exactly.
terrible job to have.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for all we know, that's probably that's maybe one of the reasons why she moved into politics. You know, I mean, they got a lot of district attorneys that don't move into politics as far as like going into, senator, looking to go the direction she's going, possibly, moving to be a president at some point. So who knows? I feel like, like you said, Ebony, like you said, Damien, like, that was her job. That was her job, and it sucks. It was fucked up that she had that job and she persecuted a lot of black people, I'm sure, but it was a job. I'm looking at her now. I'm looking at what she's doing now, and I'm looking at what she's saying now, and that's what my expectation of her is. I'm not gonna go back and say, but she did. Okay, she did. Yeah, she did.
Yeah.
Now, what is she doing? So let's
Right.
focus on that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Also,
I have mixed
go ahead.
feelings. I have mixed feelings about her as well. I do understand that during the time she was a district attorney, there were some things going on that had to be addressed. Like there was like a crack epidemic, and there was so many things going on. So they had to make some. They had to put some things in order so that some of the stuff that was happening would stop. And unfortunately, a lot of Black people got caught up. I don't know that it was intentional. Like, I don't think it was intentional for her to prosecute unjustly the number of Black men that ended up getting caught up in the system. I don't think that was intentional. But I do think that she was forced to do her job, and her job was to prosecute, whether it was for something small or something, she brought down a big crime lord, drug lord, or whatever. She had to do her job. Also, we need to maybe take a look at ourselves. Like, what were you doing to even get caught up in that situation? What were
Always.
you doing?
Right.
Yeah.
What were you like? Why were you even involved in
Yeah.
whatever you were involved in? You never would have gotten caught up. I had a whole argument with like an ex-boyfriend, and he was like, my uncle got caught up in that mess, I'll never vote for her. And I'm like, well, who are you voting for then? The birthday party? What are you doing? Like, if it's not her, then who? Well, I mean, my uncle never got his life back. He never got it. He never was able to fix it. And I said, well, he had a choice though. Like, once all of that was over, once he got out of prison or whatever, he had a choice to get it together. And if he chose not to, that's not on her, that's on him. And he got caught up, and that's unfortunate. Yeah. But you're going to blame her for your uncle's messed up life? That's not really fair, because she did her job. So,
right.
I mean, I do have mixed feelings, but I am hoping, like everyone else, that what she's saying now is what she truly believes and how she's going to govern going forward.
Yeah.
I mean, she just, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say two things, and it's funny you said that, Regina, because yes, there are plenty of situations where Black people have been accused wrongly, like completely wrongly, like we didn't do anything and we got accused and we got convicted. But let's be real. A lot of what we're fighting for is equal when it comes to being charged, because there are a lot of Black people that commit crimes. So when you think about it, it's about the comparison of when a white person commits a crime and the sentencing that they get, or the not sentencing, and then Black people. We got a lot of people. There's a lot of Black people who, and I'm not saying ratios like most Black people. I'm just saying there's a lot of Black people who commit crimes, and I think a lot of people they forget about this person actually did something wrong. We're not fighting for this person to get off from doing wrong. We're fighting for this person to get equally sentenced the way that everybody else would. So I think that gets lost in a lot of times in these situations.
Exactly.
People forget that a crime was actually committed, and they focus on how bad the person is being treated during that time and how bad they're being persecuted. But they should be prosecuted. They just shouldn't get life for something that they should get 5 years for. Right. That's what the real fight is, people. Okay, yeah. Don't forget that we still got to do better as a people, but we're fighting the systems that persecute us to not have be judged fairly in this country.
Right, but we also have to think about the laws that are made that kind of target us as well. So yes, we have these district attorneys across the nation that whose job are to prosecute. But if you set up task force in only certain areas where certain
Hmm.
demographics are, if the
Straight up.
laws are to target marijuana users and not cocaine users, but you do target crack users.
Yeah.
You know what the language is. So yes, of course, the crime is the crime, and we should take responsibility of what we do. But if you're watching me 100% of the day, you're going to see my crime. If you're not watching any other demographic 100% of the time, you'll never see their crime. So
Yes.
yes, of course, I should do right. But if you don't ever watch anybody else, it's not fair. So we
Yeah.
do need to make sure that we're not putting the ownership on the prosecutors all the time. Let's go to the polls and let's whoever's making the laws and passing these propositions and putting the taxpayers' money to put the police in certain neighborhoods to kind of be a hawk and watch for us. We need to make sure that we also complain about those things.
Yep.
Straight up. You hey compare you speaking of which you haven't seen Snowfall yet, right?
I have not. I have not.
So Snowfall is based upon this character named pretty much this guy named Franklin, which is a young black dude, coming up in the hoods of South Central or whatever. His life parallels, I don't know if this is the specific person, but his life parallels Freeway Ricky Ross or whatever. You know what I'm saying? The original Rick Ross. So his life and the things that he goes through parallels Rick Ross' life, which means that he was a young coke dealer, weed dealer, turned crack dealer, or whatnot. He was getting his cocaine from the plug. Guess who the plug was? The plug was a CIA agent
Hmm.
or whatnot. The plug was the United States government who was selling drugs to the hood or whatnot. In turn, the hood was selling drugs or whatever, and they were funding this war in Nicaragua or whatnot
Hmm.
because they had interest in getting out the communist regime, uh and they were funding and giving selling guns to this rebellious militia that was fighting against their own government or whatnot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So while and the crazy part about it is while Ronald Reagan and Nancy and stuff like that is talking about just say no to drugs and fighting this war against drugs and stuff like that or whatever, his own CIA was selling drugs, was bringing drugs into the country. So all
Yeah.
this stuff that we've always heard about, man, black people don't have boats and planes, it's been absolutely correct.
Right.
Like,
Absolutely.
you know what I'm
Where are
saying?
we getting the weapons and the guns and these drugs?
No,
Like,
nobody ever wants to think deep enough to like really like. And the people that say the shit, you know what? Go ahead.
Nah, what was you about to say?
I'm just saying the people that say the shit, like they be so passionate about it. The ones that criticize and critique and talk down, they so passionate about it. But yeah, you so simple minded that you can't even think past how these drugs get into the country. Or like you think those people, they scientists, they creating them in the lab. They
Yeah,
got
right.
fields and fields and fields of marijuana they've coca plants and stuff that they creating. Like you're not even thinking deep enough. And then if they did think about it, they would say something like, "Oh, it's the Mexicans bringing it in." I mean, they
yeah,
would say
yeah.
some shit like that. But it's ridiculous. It is ridiculous, and it's crazy
Yeah.
that those shows that's created, they come from truth. They don't come from people's figments of people's imagination. They come from real life facts.
Yeah.
Just you know what? Oh, go ahead, Ed.
No, I was just going to say, I think a lot of people that watch these shows and these movies, they are actually looking at it as entertainment and a fairy tale. They don't see that the truth that lies in it. Yeah, it's here for entertainment, but just like you say, in every lie, there's some truth to it. Every rumor, there's some truth to it. And in what it entertainment or art imitates life, And you're absolutely right. I mean, how are we getting in all of these weapons? How are we getting in all of these different types of drugs? So it's crazy.
Look, so I seen another. It's crazy because I watched another movie, man, and I can't remember the name of the movie or this guy's name, but he was a reporter or whatnot, and it was the same exact story or whatnot. He found out they used him to pull this story out to get this Nicaraguan drug lord to get him because he was going to court for the CIA and all of that type of stuff or whatever. Nobody knew that this stuff was happening. So they used the reporter to pull this story out, and it was this big thing for like 5 minutes. It was like humongous news for 5 minutes. And then once the American government got a hold of, he was on like CNN, he was on everything. So then they decided, okay, the best cause of action was to discredit this dude because he brought all of this information out about the about America funding this, you know, the Nicaraguan war and all of that type of stuff or whatever. The dude ended up maybe a couple years later, after they blackballed him and stuff like that, lost his wife, his family, all of that type of stuff. He ended up committing suicide by shooting himself 2 times in the head.
2 times.
2 times.
Yes.
Oh wow.
That boy got some hella reflexes.
Like a chicken with a head
Get
cut
two
off.
shots to get 2 shots off. Yeah.
Like I didn't know you could do that. Like I don't. Maybe he had 2 guns to both sides.
Like he
Like
shot
holding
himself.
them
Like,
on both sides. Boom, boom, boom.
Wow.
Boom, boom,
you know, like go to movies, the comedies and stuff. I think it was a comedy where a dude tried to commit suicide. I know it was in South Park where like he was they was shooting the dude trying to kill him and he would die. And he was trying to kill himself. And every time he shot himself, he was still living. He shot himself like 20 times. Yeah, that's crazy.
Wow. Oh gosh.
We all know what happened there.
Yeah. So, okay, with the election. So, yeah, we're celebrating, the new administration, the president and vice president elect, but there's a fight, right? So we have this. So our current president, his promise was to build the wall. He didn't build the wall. He built a wall around the White House, though, a fence. And he's saying he's not going out without a fight because this election was stolen from him. So in the thought process that we are in Jumanji and anything can happen in this 2020 and we're celebrating, what do y'all think this outcome is going to be? How do you think far up he's going to take this fight? He's already filed lawsuits in all of the states that are governed by Republicans, and saying that this election was stolen and millions of illegitimate votes were from dead people and illegal votes that were past the deadline, which, he might find 5 votes. But what do you think this fight is going to show us?
I think it's gonna show one or two things. I think it's gonna show how ridiculous people really see him, even the people that work under him that probably were just doing that stuff because they had to keep their livelihood, to keep their job, to not lose their careers, to not be one of the many people who were fired from the administration. And they're not going to cooperate with what he wants because he's no longer the president and doesn't have the power, and it's going to be a smoothest transition. He's going to file his lawsuits. They're going to be ridiculous. They're not going to hold any weight. He's going to be removed in 2 months. Or he does have people who back him, who want him there. They're going to truly fight. And this is going to be a prolonged situation. And that right there is what I'm really worried about. Is if he has like true backing with people in power and positions that are going to back him, and these lawsuits are going to drag. And I was watching what you sent, Damon, about Bernie Sanders, what Bernie Sanders said and how he predicted this. That's amazing. This dude predicted this to the T. And part of his prediction was the worry of him actually being removed from office. So that's why I'm worried, because everything he said came to fruition, and this is the part that we're waiting on. Right. Is the actual removal. So I ain't gonna lie, I'm a little bit worried,
Yeah.
But
yeah, and the electorates, don't they have until December 14th or something like that? Like they have to actually vote that way, right? And I think that's how it goes each election. We just go by the popular vote in the states, and we assume that the electorate is voting in alignment with that vote. But until there's some meeting in December in all elections where they cast their vote, I believe. So I could be wrong.
Yeah, I'm a little fuzzy on that part.
Well, I do know that the electoral college members are supposed to vote with their state, you know, with the people, but they don't have to.
Right.
They can still vote otherwise. So there's that. Um, I have a strange sense of peace about this, though. I think that um, eventually he may not concede. I don't think he'll ever do that. But I do think that when they say, "Sir, it's time to go, get your shit, get your shit."
I hope the cameras are rolling. I need to see that.
Yeah, I want to, I hope it's televised, but I feel like it's going to be forcible. Like they're going to have to
Removal.
force him to go. He's not going to go quietly or peacefully. And he's not going to be diplomatic either. He's not going to, shake hands with Joe and welcome him to the White House and be, kind, because there is no kindness in him. And he probably won't even be at the inauguration. So
Oh, he already said he's not.
that's fine too. We're tired of looking at you anyway. Don't show up. Don't. It just shows how um I don't know, but I feel peaceful about it. I don't feel like there's going to be a civil war, and if there is, like I said on another episode, I feel like all his followers will end up, getting confused and shooting at each other. We won't be involved at all. I think it's ridiculous, and um, yeah, I don't feel any sort of way about this guy. I'm indifferent. Indifference is worse than hatred, so
Mm,
that's where I am.
I'm still on stage 8.
Anyway, that investigative journalist, his name was Gary Webb. If y'all want to check him out, Gary Webb, that killed himself with 2 bullets or whatnot.
Okay, Gary Webb.
Uh, yeah, I want to see. I want to see Trump get drug out of that office, man. That'll be a nice sight to
Yeah.
see. And then
Like,
Melania, I want to see she can go to the inauguration with like somebody like a rapper or something like that, since he like black people so much.
yeah, probably somebody she's been having an affair with anyway.
You already know that's what's going down. Like that probably was like from day one. You know that marriage was about that money from the beginning. Melania been getting hers in for years, I'm sure.
She's like, we best now.
Did y'all hear about those guys that had a I don't know, they pulled up in a Hummer or something like that, and I want to say it was Virginia, and they was like with a bunch of fake ballots and stuff like that, and weapons and all of that, and they was, I guess they was going to try to force the fake ballots to those poll workers or something like that or whatever, and they had QAnon gear and paraphernalia or whatever like in their truck and stuff like that.
Mm-mm.
I
I ain't
did
heard
hear
about
about
that.
one. I didn't know about the ballots. I did hear. I thought it was in Pennsylvania though, but I thought they
Yeah,
were
yeah,
trying
yeah.
to do
Okay.
something more drastic. And they had a QAnon hat in there.
Yeah, it was in
Yeah.
Philly.
Okay. Yeah.
So they was arrested, but we don't know what else. They may be facing more charges and stuff like that or whatever than just because they got arrested for having weapons basically or whatnot.
Yeah.
So we don't
The
actually
government
know.
they probably got about 10 different things they could charge them with. They need to do them like they do us.
They
They
do.
charge they charge with everything under the sun.
They
We get
charge you
stopped
for
for a traffic ticket. You get stopped for failure to comply, busted tail light. They did make shit up.
They cross state lines too, so it's
Resisting
federal.
arrest. I mean, assault on a police officer because you like bumped into them when you walk past them. Something they just they can charge them with a bunch of shit. I know they can. It's just a matter of if they're gonna do it or not.
What tripped me out is when they charge you, like double charge you for the same thing, just with a different name. Like charge you for lying and cheating. Like that's pretty much the same thing. I lied about
Yeah.
cheating. That's
Mm,
Did y'all hear about this young this I think he's 18, 19. He's 18. His name is CJ Pearson. He's the youngest black electoral college voter in Alabama. Is it Alabama? Yeah, it's Alabama. And he's a black Republican.
no, I
And
have.
so he was nominated to or he was named to the electoral college. And I looked up his Facebook page a few days ago, and I was like, who is this child's parents? But he's a freshman at the University of Alabama, and he was like one of the first to criticize the closure of all the bars and restaurants and things when COVID first hit and everything was shut down. He talked about how, like right now, he's talking about how the voting is fraudulent, and so many, like, he's mirroring everything that Trump is saying right now. And so when I went to his Facebook page, his name is CJ Pearson. That's what he goes by.
Corico Jaquan. Corico Jaquan Pearson.
So that's why. So when he goes by CJ, because
yes,
he's like 18-year-old. Anyway, his whole entire, all of his followers are like white conservatives, and they're like, young man, you're gonna be the president one day. Your parents must be so proud. And I'm thinking to myself, was he adopted by like a couple of white conservatives? Like, I don't know his backstory.
Wow.
I just thought it was ridiculous when I saw.
He has a whole shop where he's selling like Trump gear and everything. That hat is kind of nice though.
He's selling merch.
It didn't say Trump Pierce though.
Everything. Like, he is like a staunch Republican supporter. He's only 18, and I'm thinking to myself, you know, we're depending on this next generation to right some of the wrongs and, you know, kind of not even overcorrect, but just kind of straighten the path a little bit and help us out with the situations of equity and equality among people of color. And he is like so far to the right that it's a little bit scary. I'm afraid for him. What did you say his first name was again? I'm sorry. I didn't.
Corico, Coreco. Or Coreco. I will pronounce it Corico.
Corico,
I like it better.
Did you say Jaquan?
Jaquan. That boy gonna go by CJ because he may change his name to CJ officially because he don't want that black name.
No,
he's gonna be Chris.
He don't want that black name.
He's gonna be Chris soon.
Yep.
So
Christopher James.
So when I had situations like this, you know, even Jesus had traitors. You know, Judas, like, and you know, Jesus was supposedly like the most important man that walked the face of the earth, and he still had traitors. So we gonna always have people on a side that doesn't do right by their people. It's just gonna be that way. But I don't even know if I would classify him as being so far right, because I feel like you can be on the end of what you believe without being brainwashed. Like, you can be conservative and be far right on the conservative end, but you still have your own brain. You just believe all that crazy shit. I believe that somebody that young who's been preaching this from such a young age, this has been put into your head. You've been only shown a certain side of things. Certain things have only been said to you a certain way. This has been pushed to you because you're so young doing this. Like, and now this is going to be ingrained in him for the rest of his life, unless he goes through some type of life-changing situation, which is probably not likely to happen based off of where he is in his career. I'm guessing, you know, he's already.
He's only 18.
He from Alabama or whatever. Them white folks ain't
I don't even know if I consider that to be life changing unless it's something like he goes to jail for it or something like that. Like, you know, we got plenty of these black Republicans that will sit up here and talk about, yes, I've been stopped by the police 15 times, but yet you still on this conservative bullshit. You know, and I'm not saying that all black Republicans are BSing because they're Republicans. Like, I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. I don't choose one side or the other. It just seems that if you're a Republican, you are so Republican, it's repugnant. It's like your beliefs and your voice about what you believe is so, I don't even want to say strong because that make it sound like a positive thing.
It's like being a Dallas Cowboy fan or something.
Oh, that's perfect. No. That was perfect. Yes, Ebony, what you just said is exactly what I mean. It's like a blind following. It's not even a belief no more. It's just a blind following. Like, if Trump said, Republicans, we need to eat shit to retain our intelligence, then Republicans would all start eating shit, and they would criticize you for not doing it and talk about how stupid you are. And they wouldn't just do what you say. they would make you feel like you ain't nothing for not following them and not doing what they do. It's crazy how these conservative Republicans are, and and liberals, they are not that strong with their beliefs. It's
Yeah.
more of a it's they say far left, but it's more of a defense to the far
Facts.
right.
Facts.
That's what it is. It's like they're defending. They're always being reactive to what the far right is saying.
Exactly.
You
Exactly.
know, so
If
and
y'all
then
notice,
go
oh,
ahead,
go
bro.
ahead. I
No,
was
I'm
just
done.
gonna say that if you look at the legislation and all of that type of stuff that's being passed, when you talk about the Republicans and the Republicans, everything that they talk about is fucking with people. Everything that they talk about is messing with somebody's way of life. They don't want gay people to be gay and be married and be happy and stuff. They don't want you to be able to have abortions and stuff like that or whatever. They pro-life, they anti life over here in this circumstance or whatever. Everything that they talk about is messing with somebody else and somebody else's way of life.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's like they don't spend enough time, in my opinion, putting the money into the education aspect of it. You want to keep me from doing something, but like, for example, the whole abortion thing. I have my own thoughts about how I feel about that as personally, but as far as what I think should be imposed on everybody, I don't think that's necessarily my choice of what to tell everybody they can and cannot do. And I think instead of saying what you can't do, educate or make condoms readily available, birth control. But there's many churches like the Catholic Church where you're not even supposed to be on birth control because that's considered abortion in a way. So it's like you want to control somebody, but you don't put money into how you can prevent it. You just say keep your legs closed and read the Bible and put on this purity ring,
But
you know.
aren't they
But it's only
touting
for
less?
women. It's only women that they do that to. They don't tell
Right.
boys don't masturbate because that's abortion. You're gonna, masturbate into a Playboy, and oh my God,
Right.
all of your seed is gonna die. It's abortion. Don't do it. It's always geared toward women. And I'll say
Mm,
this: I have had an abortion. I was
mm,
19. I got pregnant. I didn't want. I didn't know what my mom was gonna say. My dad, my family, my
Yeah,
aunt was like, "Do you need my help? I will take you and I will pick you up. It's not a big deal. I've done this.
yeah.
This happened to me too. And I'm so sorry it's happening to you, but don't let it happen again."
Right.
And I said, okay. And it was the most excruciating thing that I went through. And so at this time in my life now, I wouldn't do it. But back then I didn't see another way. I didn't
yeah,
want to be
Right.
a mother at 19. I had things to do and I didn't use it. It wasn't that like I was using it as birth control. It was just something that I felt like at that time it wasn't for me. Like i
yeah,
couldn't i
yeah.
couldn't handle it. And
You're
so
right.
do I have a baby and be a shitty mom, or do I say, you know what, I messed up, I made a mistake, let me go ahead and get past this part in my life so that this doesn't happen
Yeah.
again, and then be grateful that I have access to this kind of health care.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
And so at this point, no, I wouldn't do it. But I'm not going to tell another
Somebody else. Right.
19-year-old who has her whole life and would be a shitty mom also, don't do it. It's not my
Right.
place. Just like it
Right.
wasn't anyone's place back then to tell me
Mm-hmm.
not to do that. So I do have strong feelings because that was me at one point.
Right.
So, I mean, I
Well,
guess it depends on where you are in life and what if you're using it as birth control every month, you getting pregnant, and
then yeah,
that's an
that's
issue.
crazy.
That's a
Right.
problem, girl. You got issues. But if you are in a situation and you don't see a way out, and this is a one-time thing, or whatever, it's not my place or any man's place to tell you don't do this with your body because it's not your
Right.
business. That's the other thing. If I have a baby, what are you going to do to help me? You're telling me I can't have this abortion. Go ahead and have this baby. How are you going to help me take
Help
care
me.
of this
Right.
child? How
Right.
how are you? Because I'm not in a position to take good care of this child, and I'd be damned if I leave my child with my mother or my father and walk away like I see so many other people do. Their grandparents are raising the kids. So
Exactly.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm not
putting
doing
kids in the
that either.
system.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not doing that. So what do I do? And that was my option. That option was open to me. It was readily available. It cost a lot. I had a job. I went ahead and paid for it. It put me behind on some bills, but I did what I had to do. And then I was able to move on. Now, do I think about that and go, man, what if? Yeah, absolutely. But I don't feel like I made a mistake by having an abortion. I don't, because it was my life, my business. Me and the guy I was with, it was what we decided was best for both of us, not even just me. I didn't go, I'm not doing this, and he was against it. We agreed on it together. That was another thing. So really, like, when you say that you're against abortion, but you don't provide a way or a path for these women to be a good mother or to not be a mother, I'm going to take your child. You can have the baby. I'll take your child and I'll take care of it, instead of forcing that motherhood on them when they're not ready. And then these tragedies happen, like that little boy who his mother and her boyfriend pretty much tortured that kid to death.
Yeah.
It never would have happened. It never would have happened. It shouldn't have happened. So people who are against abortion, be against it, but be against it in your own life and your own body and your own family. Don't tell me what I can
do. Yeah, and be pro-life all the way around. You can't be just pro-life about what's in my body. And abortions were happening before abortions were legal. And if you take it away, people are still going to get them. They're going to risk their life, the baby's life. And then you got to think about, there's many people that have affairs. These men don't want it to come out. They kill the women. They kill, it's a lot. It's a whole system of things that people don't think about. So, I mean, you have to create safe spaces for people to take care of what they need to take care of. And if it's not your business, it's not your business.
It really isn't. And I'm not even ashamed to say that was me at one point. I've grown since then. So like I said, now I wouldn't do it because I have the means, and I'm raising kids now, and they're not fucked up, so I think I'm doing okay, So I really feel, I have strong feelings. My mom's a pastor, and she's like, abortion is wrong. Like, she's staunch against it. And I'm like, you really can't tell people what to do. And if you're be pro-life, everything.
Hold on, Capel, before you go. It had a episode of The Blacklist. I don't know if y'all checked that out, but The Blacklist. And so this woman, she was a doctor. She was raped or whatnot, and she had this was the scenario. She was raped. She had a kid. Kid was probably about 7-8 years old. She loved the kid, of course, but at the time of, she didn't want to have the child. I believe she tried to have an abortion, and because abortions were illegal, she was arrested and sent to prison or whatnot. You know what I'm saying? So what she did was she got out of prison. She became like a surgeon or something like that, or whatever, some type of doctor or whatever. She kidnapped the senator of that state, the senator or the governor or somebody like that or whatever, who was a proponent against against abortions or whatever. She found a way to impregnate him.
So awesome.
He was pregnant, and guess what? He couldn't get an abortion.
Yeah, it's illegal.
Yeah.
So what did the baby came out? I'm just curious. How did that play out? I know that's not what the conversation about, but I'm just curious.
She did it. She had did it to somebody else too. He was like a pastor or something like that. He was actually raising his child or whatever. You know what I'm saying? But like, if that was a real live situation or whatever, you already know what people would be doing. You know what I'm saying?
So
it's crazy.
This is my take on it. I don't think any man has a right to tell a woman whether she should have an abortion or not.
Well, to create one.
Okay, Pac.
Tupac.
All right. My problem with my problem with it is that, number one. But the secondary problem with it for me is the idea of your belief having to go into action. You can believe something but still respect another person's decision to do something else. Mm-hmm. Yeah. See, that's the problem, because, and you can also believe something and still do it. Like, I'm, for the most part, against an abortion for myself if my wife is get pregnant, or when I was younger, if somebody that I was sleeping with got pregnant. But at the same time, I respected them to do it if that's what they chose to. And there was one point in my life where even though I'm like, generally, I wouldn't want it. It was one point in my life where, yeah, I want you to get it. If we having a conversation about it and we making the decision together. Okay. Like, for me, it's like, nah, I don't know if I'm ready for that, but it's your decision. My point is saying it is like I know there are women like that too who don't necessarily agree with it wholeheartedly, but there are points in your life or situations where you will say no. It's the same thing. I think murder's
Exactly.
wrong. I think murder's wrong, but I will put two in your head if you threaten my livelihood.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
Just because you believe something to be wrong does not mean that you won't do it. And that's the part. That's the part that I have the issue with personally with people is you take your beliefs and you put them on people, but you don't put yourself in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
Like you won't make the mistake. And the reason why I bring it up is because this argument is mostly from a religious standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's mostly coming from a religious standpoint,
Mm-hmm.
but yet as people who practice, serious staunch religion, they will tell you that all sins are equal, none is greater than the other. But yet we put so much value on certain sins as if they're worse than others.
Yeah.
People out here lying and cheating, and everybody's having premarital sex. Ain't nobody these days getting married as a virgin no more. But yet you want to pull certain parts of religion and make it so important and put at the forefront when it comes to laws. Like I mean that's the part that really drives me is that you're creating laws for people based on your belief. Your belief can be whatever the hell you want it to be. Like personally, you can say all day, I don't think women should get an abortion. You can think that, but when you start practicing it, when you start putting it on other people, that is a problem. Because like I said, these men, if they were in these situations where they didn't want a child, they would do something about it. The same ones that are out here saying, abortion is wrong, whatever, the ones making laws. I guarantee you they got men that's in positions right now that are against this, that have had women have abortions. I guarantee you that has happened. And it's
Yes.
probably happened as early as this year.
Speaking
As
of
late
which,
as this year.
y'all
So
heard of Carl Lentz? Y'all know who that is?
you
No.
just be like
Carl,
on the computer just searching up people names and be like,
Carl Lentz, the
Who is that?
celebrity magnet of a pastor who brought the global megachurch Hillsong from Australia to the United States, has been fired.
Oh yeah, Bieber's pastor. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Justin Bieber and a bevy of other celebrities and sports stars. He wrote, "When you lead out of an empty place, you make choices that have real consequences. I was unfaithful in my marriage, the most important relationship of my life, and held accountable for that." So he was fired pretty much for, he was
Cheating on
cheating
his
on
wife.
his wife and stuff like that or whatever. He wasn't leading by example.
y'all hear that?
Yeah.
People who supporting John Gray, he still passing his church. Y'all keep giving this dude
Right.
chances. Y'all keep giving him
Yeah.
chances. Fire him like they did this pastor. That's how you do that.
Yeah, and
Those,
he took ownership of it. I actually heard his response, and he thanked the pastors. I mean, I didn't follow this man. I know that he has a big, huge following. Very a lot of celebrities like Justin Bieber. I did hear on another radio show where one of the hosts didn't agree with him being fired. They said, well, I thought Christianity was supposed to be accepting and forgiving, but I have a different stance on it. When you're, telling people and followers how to live their life and probably, have been judgmental in some ways, I think you should step down. I think when you have a position, you have to be held accountable for it. If you're a teacher, you got to choose: do I want to be a teacher, or do I want to be a porn star? You can't do both, right? So I think the same thing. I know people say, well, people are human, make
I don't
mistakes.
know.
There's certain, well, I mean, I understand. Well, I'm saying at the same time, I don't know if if you were a porn star, it's
What
fine,
if
but I don't
what if,
know.
what if you acting? Because they be doing a little acting. What if she acting like a teacher?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I guess you're catching me up, right? But but all I'm saying is there's certain positions where you need to choose what you're going to be and what's going to come with that. Like when people are celebrities and they complain when the cameras are following them, I'm like, okay, well, you chose to be a celebrity. Do you want to be rich or do you want to be famous? So if you choose to be a man of God that's supposedly telling everyone what's right, you kind of have to say, if I'm tempted by certain things, maybe I shouldn't be in this position, or maybe I have to still work in the church, but not at this level. I don't know. Maybe I'm judgmental. I am
uh,
judgmental, but
no,
I
I
just
don't.
still think.
in a situation like that, I don't think it's a right or wrong response to that situation. I believe that that person could be held accountable by being fired, and they could be held accountable by still having their job and having to, meet certain expectations. I think it's dependent upon. I think it's how it happens. Like if it's left up to the people to make that decision. So if you have somebody who's over church and they making these decisions and they making these mistakes, but yet they continue to stay in power because they're like dictators, they're making all the decisions, they control everything. That's different. But like if in a situation where, like the guy said, you don't, I thought the church is about forgiving. You can forgive somebody and accept them and still say you can't have this position anymore.
Right.
Because it's about a bigger picture. It's not about you. This is about the people,
Right.
and those same people can say, we forgive you, we accept you, we understand that you made a mistake and want to keep you in that position and still have a good effect afterwards. I think it's about how it happens, but I don't think it's a right or wrong way to do it. Unless you, like I said, unless that situation is you making mistakes, you lying to the people, you in control, you just not holding yourself accountable. Nobody's holding you accountable. Yeah, that's fucked up. But with this dude, I mean, I think the way it happened was fine.
Yeah.
No problem.
He was
About
cheating on
to.
his wife with Justin Bieber though. Does that change anything?
You are.
That absolutely does. And I'm about to put some more
He
business out
got,
there.
Nah,
he
I'm
got,
just,
he got.
I'm
Let me
just
just
joking.
I
let
know
me
you just
say
joking.
this because this I've watched this happen in a church that I went to, and Ebony went there too. But um, my mother was like the lead minister. She was like over the ministers at our church. The church started up when I was like 12. It's a big church now, and there are a lot of people that go there. And anyways, over the years, when you are just a member of a church, you don't see all the inner workings of stuff that goes on. And so much stuff went on at this church that most of the members didn't know about. And, even now I'm still finding out stuff and I'm like, what? That happened? I
Wow.
was I was floored when I found out how many men who were in leadership positions were cheating on their wives with other women in the church. And there's one one of the
Amen.
guys who went there, and I think he played drums for the church for a while, and found out he was cheating on his wife with one of the other ministers' wives. So they both had to step down. They were like, okay, y'all need to step down and get your lives together. And then, they were back in their positions again, and it happened again, not with each other but with other people. So, oh, y'all messed up again, come on, step down again. And I'm like,
Mhm.
how many times does it take for things to happen? There was one other instance at this same church. I'm not going to say what it was, but the one of the lead elders, um apparently he was having relationships with some of the young men in the
Yeah.
church. And one day, one of the young men, he was dressed like a woman, he was dressed in drag, and he came up and he was trying to hand this handwritten letter to the pastor, like, here, I'm gonna give you this letter because I'm about to tell on your lead elder. And one of the other elders, like, this is all happening during praise and worship, where this is the day, like all this is happening. And we're watching this go down. Me and my husband at the time, we're watching this whole thing go down. And one of the other elders went and grabbed this transgender female or whatever, and like drags him out of the church, snatches the letter from him. And like this whole thing's happening. Praise and worship did not stop. It didn't phase the worship leader. He's doing his thing. And then afterwards, the elder came up front and he said, there's a way to do things. Right is right and wrong is wrong. So we're going to continue in excellence. That elder who was, messing with the young men in the church and out of the church, turning them or whatever you want to call it, he is still there to this day. He's still the lead elder to this day. Right now, this day, the worship leader was a member of Hillsong, who y'all just got through talking about. He went over and he joined Hillsong. He came back and he left the church completely because he's gay now. And he said, you don't support my
Now,
lifestyle, I'm not part of it. Well, I mean, he came out. He was always gay, but he
Yeah.
came out and he said, y'all, people don't support my lifestyle. And I knew the announcement was coming. I knew he was going to have to say it eventually, because we all knew, he's a good looking guy. He was never married. So many women wanted him. And, he never got married. And then he went off and he was at Lakewood for a while with their team, and
Yeah.
Then he left and went to
Turkey,
Hillsong,
huh?
and now he's not a part of the church at all because he's like, this is my lifestyle. The church doesn't support it. So
Accept me,
he's
yeah.
very humanistic at this point. So really, I'm just like, it makes me lose faith in the church as a whole because I grew up in the church, and it's unfortunate because the church has some good things to offer. It helps out sometimes when you have people in the area who are hurting. They reach out for counseling, and they give them, if they need money, there's a benevolence fund to help with rent and lights and groceries. And the church should be the place where you go. That's the safe place that has what
Should
you
be.
need. You shouldn't have to depend on the government to 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 step in and help. You should be able to go to your church where you pay tithes or offerings and say, you know what, I'm having a hard time, I need help. With all the other stuff, there shouldn't be scandals every week coming out of the church. It's unnecessary. And
But
so when you say people, they're just people and they make mistakes too. Absolutely. But they're held to a higher standard. They need to be accountable for their actions. So if you mess up, you are human, mess up, but you can't tell me what to do in my life anymore because you're
Right.
messed up. So
So
find
you
but
know
let's
what?
but
find
I
somebody else.
So this the thing. Okay, two things. Number one, people don't know how to hold people accountable. See, people use that word accountable all the time. They throw it around, but they don't know what accountable really means. And it's not a specific way. It's specific to your situation. It's not this is how you do it, and you spread it out, and that's how you do it. Everybody in a situation like you're talking about, Regina. The reason why those people were able to do it, like some people may say they were held accountable because they cheated and they had to step down. No, you weren't, because your mission is to people, but the people didn't know. The people who needed to know didn't know. So you hold him accountable, like the man that y'all talking about. He said what happened. He told the world what happened. And then he was held accountable by being removed from his position because that's what the people wanted. So if those people know what you did, see, that's how you truly learn a lesson, is when you have to, that's when you when you truly held accountable is when you have to put your feet to the fire, and you have to like go through something as a consequence to what you did. That wasn't a consequence to them. And and that's what usually happens is you're not truly held accountable for what you did, so that's why you keep doing the same things, because you didn't really receive any, you didn't really receive any real consequence for it. But the other part to, the church is, I think people put the church on a pedestal. They put the people in the church on a pedestal. The church is an organization. I can guarantee you that when, Jesus and them was having church, they had no choir. They didn't meet up for, prayer worship on Wednesdays with groups of people. They didn't meet up for choir rehearsal. They didn't do all these things that people
They didn't
do.
have a step team?
They didn't have no
Praise
step
dance,
team,
none?
praise
Oh,
dance team.
man.
They didn't have all that stuff. And I say this to say that just like any organization, the more you meet up, the more you congregate, the more that you have these groups, the more you do those things, the more mess becomes involved. That's any organization. Even the CEOs at top 500 companies, I guarantee you they big mix of mess and inappropriate situations that happen. That's how organizations go. People put churches on a pedestal, and the people that run the churches on a pedestal because of what it's supposed to mean to be a leader in a church. But Regina, the people, in my opinion, the people, when they say stuff like they're just human, they're right. I don't use it to absolve them. I say it because it's the truth. You are human. You are in a situation that you don't have the strength. You don't have the strength to be where you are. But most people are not leaders. Most people are like sheep, like they're followers. They don't have the strength to live up to what the standard is to be a true leader. But there's so many leadership positions that we have made leadership positions. There's so many things that we look at that's supposed to be leadership positions. Most people can't live up to that. And look at, and then when you look at all the damn churches we have in this country, oh my God.
Too many.
Like it was doomed to fail when it started. I don't think that's not how church was designed to be. It wasn't designed to be that way.
No.
Scandal works two ways though. Like, why do we always? Why is it scandal when the pastor or the elder is knocking down somebody or whatever? Why we looking to them and holding them accountable? I mean, what about the other person? Like the dude, I'm not victim. He's not a victim to me. You know what I'm
Wait,
saying?
Well,
They
because
just
the other person is usually not the one telling me how to live my life. I don't
Right.
think that, like for me, I'm not looking for perfection from these people. I don't look at them like, oh, I'm gonna fall because my elder fell. But
Mm-mm.
when your pastor is telling you you need to fast and pray because you have some demons inside of you and you're
Wait,
weak to the
wait.
flesh. Don't listen to this music. And when they're
Did she
telling
say
you to
dick
do that, and
demons? Did she say
huh?
dick demons? I
No,
thought
not
she
dick.
no, she
Oh yeah, but I didn't say that. But
dick
I've
demons.
heard that.
Somebody
I
is.
heard that.
that's
Oh, I heard
not
dick
what she
demons, and I was
said.
like,
That's
maybe
not.
that's what I had.
Oh yeah. So
Dick
when they're
demons.
saying this and then they do, I don't care about the lady that came in and found the pastor attractive and then she raised her skirt a little short. The pastor is the one that told me I need to come to the altar and pray and speak in tongues and do all this stuff to be delivered. So yeah, I'm holding you to your just saying
No.
you have to.
okay. If
There's
you
certain things
now
I'm not strong enough.
to be serious, okay. So let's say you got an 18-year-old in school. To me, the reason why school is different is because you have there's a system in place, and if I'm the principal or the teacher, whoever, yeah, she may be old enough or whatnot, but I'm fraternizing with somebody who's a part of the system on the opposite end of it, and I could be showing favoritism and stuff like that or whatever. So that's what makes that not fair. It's
It's
not.
same in church. You're fraternizing. So
There's nothing fair or unfair about church and fraternizing with somebody that's all right. Like if you took the same 18-year-old or whatever, you know what I'm saying? I can't. I can't give her no extra blessings or something like that. She's not guaranteed to get in heaven now because I'm sleeping with her, but I
right.
can guarantee you an A. I can
I don't
guarantee.
think it. I don't think it has. It should be a government structure of where you do not sleep with that 18-year-old. You know what I mean? Like it shouldn't be like, okay, TEA has set this set of rules, so here I won't do it. But if I'm a pastor in the church, like if I'm a married pastor in the church, you know. So I mean, I don't know. I guess I see where you're coming from, but I just think that when you choose, you make the choice to be in a position. There's certain positions that I can't be in because I'm not strong enough for that. You have to know who you are. So
No, I'm not
once
here
you
for a pastor.
step outside of that, then you bring in whatever comes and consequences come with your actions.
Nah,
But
That's
the
you
the
right.
reality is the people who are in the churches who believe those things, who like the reality, the people who in the church who follow the word of the preacher, that's how they feel when they find out these things happen. So whether they should or should not feel that way is irrelevant because that's how they feel. They feel like the pastor's a hypocrite. They feel like you're telling me to do this and you're not doing it. I don't want to follow you anymore. You're wrong. You're a liar. That's how they
Mm-hmm.
feel. So
Yep.
it don't matter what they should or should not. It don't matter how it should be. That's how people feel when somebody, like, if you take it out of the church. Like if you look at kids, there are kids who have parents who have said, who have seen their parents do the opposite of what they do, and they're like, "You always told me to do this and do that, and look what you're
yeah,
doing." It's the same feeling. You feel
yeah.
like that person that you cared, that you respected, that you looked up to as a mentor, lied about what to you about how you should be living, and
Mm-hmm.
that affects them in a certain way. Now, some people are able to move forward with it and like not worry about it, but a lot of people are like, I need to find somebody else to follow because most people are followers.
Followers, yeah.
Hey,
So like you're not a follower, Damien. This is easy
So
for you to
don't.
comprehend. Like
Yeah.
you can't put your psyche into the mind of people who don't think like you because you are a leader. You're not a follower. But people who are truly followers, that stuff like eats at them.
Yeah, because they don't have. It's like, what? Who am I going to follow? So everybody,
hey,
a lot of people need that, and that's
Hmm.
how I. Oh yeah, time. We got 1 more minute to an hour.
okay.
Oh, go ahead, finish your thought.
But that's how I feel about, and I don't think I'm a follower, but I still can understand some things when it comes to, like, even when I look at, I was talking to somebody about a few family members, like older family members that I have that are these staunch Trump supporters. I hate to keep bringing it back to Trump, but these are people that I'm like, oh my gosh, these are prayer warriors. They're smart. I held these women in my family to, high regard, and then I'm looking at them post what is really the fake news. Like I could put on a YouTube channel today and make a story, and then they would post it as if it was facts. That's how disillusioned they are. And I'm looking like, damn. So
Yeah.
not that I was following them, but I'm let down. It's like thought you were here. When as a child, I listened to you. I thought that you were this solid in your faith and your spirituality. There's a lot of things. So I even at a lower level like that, it has disappointed me. So I can understand where people put all their money, time, and invested in the church. They're paying their tithes. They can't even pay their bills and buy medicine, but they put it here. I have changed the way I do life because you said I should follow this set of rules. Now I find out you're not doing it. So even if that's not me, I can totally understand why, people should step down in those positions when they, cross the line of the law that they've instituted.
Lastly, I'll just say this. This is not an indictment on all religion or church or organized religion even. But honestly, if you are in a position of leadership, at least be good enough to, if you're not strong enough to live up to those standards that you teach or preach, at least be smart enough to not get caught when you mess up. I'm just at least be smart enough. And also there are good churches out there. I attend one now, and I mean, I've been part of different ministries in the church that I go to now, and I have not seen any evidence of mess like there was at the church that I previously attended. And I'm grateful for that, because for a while I was like, I can't do it. And now that I've found a place that I don't have to deal with all of that foolishness or be worried even about it, it feels good to be able to say, I'm a part of this church and we're doing good things in the community, not just a self-serving organization. And that's where I'll leave it.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Okay.
Close out, bro.
Close out.
So it's hard out here for a pastor and for a pimp or whatnot.
A pimp in the pulpit.
Mm-hmm.
It's been another great episode of Acoustic Chef. We appreciate y'all ears, man. We need y'all to continue to support and share. And thank y'all.
Like,
subscribe, follow, all the good stuff. We out.
All right.
Peace.
Until next time.